welcome to the Weekend Must Watch on Intercut, the weekly show going through the movies, TVs, and entertainment that people just can't cut away from. This week in movies, Marvel got blown out by a dime as Cocaine Bear took the top line at the box office for one of the days.
A bear did cocaine!
Also in movies, we had David Harbour as Casper, a festival favorite over on Hulu, and Aubrey Plaza getting more views on this clip than in her whole movie.
Generations. Okay, I see it now.
As always, I'm your host Arturo Zurita, and joining me, looking to get Intercut a kilo of views, it's Zachary Shevich.
Yeah, I don't know if those kilos are going to help us with YouTube censors, but would certainly like those numbers they were talking about in that movie. Lots and lots of money.
Anything dealing with that. Nah, already right off the bat, bro, I tried making the intro at least past a minute, so you just said the word right past it, but I think I said it in the intro. YouTube does not play. If there are dust particles when talking about this movie, they're going to flag you. And we're talking pre the show. It doesn't help what's in the title, the violence, but then it's the kids that they don't mess around with the most. So trying to keep that footage to as low of a minimum as we can when it comes to the new movies of the week. But the slowest, has to be the slowest week of movies. Gladly or surprisingly, I'm happy that we have another video in store for this week that covers South by previews, because this is an empty week, Zach.
Right. If it wasn't for the South by Southwest Festival or some Oscars discussions, there's like not a whole lot to talk about, because it's that thing we've been talking about where studios clear the way for a new Marvel movie, except that new Marvel movie lost over 80% from its first weekend gross. So it's a very empty slate of releases here at the end of February before we really dive head on into March. But there's a couple things we still want to talk about on what will probably be like maybe the shortest weekend must watch we've ever done. Before we do a patron hang later. Yeah,
exactly. You know, it's just a bridge over to that to really have the conversation going. But no, he's right. There was one movie that went out the weekend and had man's box office in the quantum realm, bro. Out of all the movies it could have been, a little film called Cocaine Bear came out of nowhere, directed by Elizabeth Banks. I think may have even been written by her. Have you heard anything about the true story?
I heard that there was cocaine and a bear ate it and then the bear died. There's some more intrigue to it, because the bear was then illegally taxidermied and now lives in a mall in Kentucky somewhere. I feel like I would rather have seen that movie than the one that we got.
That would have been more interesting. It's kind of like in Ant-Man when they gave you the recap, except when they stopped at the most important, most intriguing part. Wow, well, that's interesting. I assumed it was just Paddington having a wild night out, but the whole movie is designed to just shock you in theaters. Like, this is a movie where the least you know about it, I guess, the better. Depending on what audience you watch it to, you're either going to have one of two things going on. People who just think every single CGI like attack is outrageous, or the people who find everyone using drugs a little too funny because they're critiquing the drug use and not necessarily the moment. A lot of people were very hyped up for this movie because they thought it was going to be something that, it's not a franchise. It's technically not a spin-off to anything else. Personally, I think it tried too hard for what it was going for. And you had a specific theory about this, because we've been noticing stuff with companies doing like fan fiction on their IP. We've been seeing companies really go in and try to make a franchise. This is the opposite. They're franchising something else, these studios. And you wanted to talk about that.
Well, I think we've seen a pretty interesting trend, and Universal seems to be the studio that's taking the most advantage of this, because they've had a few hits now. They've had a pretty solid past few months in theaters between Violent Night, which is the Santa Claus beats people up in the style of John Wick movie, Megan, which is the little girl AI robot comes to haunt people, movie, and now this one, Cocaine Bear, a bunch of films that can basically be reduced down to like meme movies, movies that are sold off of an outlandish premise, basically built to be shared in ridiculous clips and jokes posted online. And yet all of these movies on relatively modest budgets of like 20 to 30 million are huge
Yep.
box office successes, are generating a lot of organic viral discussions. And it just seems interesting to me that this is now outside of making a new Top Gun or Avatar or Marvel movie, one of the most guaranteed paths to box office success in 2023.
It reminds me of voice acting when they just said, yeah, forget everybody who's talented in this. We want actors, and we need their voice. It needs to be Robert De Niro. It needs to be whoever it is. They are nothing compared. You got to have a stacked cast, and none of them mean anything to the CGI being. I don't think the CGI in the movie was that great. I was hoping
It's
that
pretty
the
bad.
casting, yeah.
Yeah.
I was hoping that
I mean, it's
the
not
actors
it's
would
not
bring
bad
something
in
to
the
it, and they do.
eh,
Casting or
sure.
or the CGI.
The CGI, just like it. I don't. It's not like terrible in that the bear does look like a bear, but it's bad in the sense that it never feels real, and particularly in a movie like this, which is so reliant on like feeling how viscerally gross and uncomfortable those kills are. When you don't buy into the reality of the movie because nobody looks like they're looking at an actual creature, it just takes away a lot of the experience from it. When a car crashes into a tree and a clearly CGI body flies through the windshield, it doesn't affect you in the same way.
And again, I think that's because they're expecting people to maybe be on substances when you watch it, so you won't see that. The
Yeah.
CGI of the bear, I agree with you. And a lot of the action, I did like the prosthetics. I thought whenever they were trying to do the gashes and the slashes, all that stuff, it looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
The characters, though, you have some heavy hitters on here.
Nothing.
I appreciate what Ray Liotta's doing. Alden goes all into it. It kind of hurt Alden because Alden's actually acting dramatic. So when he's doing a yell that he also did in a dramatic movie from Sundance, it's making me like the dramatic yell from Sundance less because now I'm not taking him seriously. I was like, oh, your yell when it's your partner taking the career from you, and your yell when it's a CG cocaine bear are the same thing, my man.
Mm-hmm.
It's rough. I will say
Yeah.
probably the one who does the most with it. The kids tried a lot. I don't understand personally all the jokes with the kids.
Tried too much.
Isaiah Whitlock Jr. Isaiah Whitlock Jr. had one of the funniest scenes last year in Atlanta in the mall. I think you know exactly what I'm talking
Mhm.
about. He
Mhm.
was trying his best here. I think he had a lot of the moments where, as the authority figure, as the cop, he's trying to also not just figure out what this bear is because he doesn't know about it. He's tracking down what is the cocaine, the drug bust. And I thought whenever they were trying to play the dramatic and also like absurd humor, this man handled it the best. But it was a lot of hit
Yeah.
or misses, I think. And
Missed opportunity to not have him say his iconic shit line in a
yeah,
movie like this one. But yeah, like you mentioned, there's all these different characters and just none of them are interesting. There's the storyline where Carrie Russell is a mom going to try and find Brooklyn Prince, and it's like
Mhm.
there's just nothing going on there. She just follows further into the woods. There's this whole thing with Margot Martindale's like a park ranger trying to hit on somebody,
Character
but like
actress.
you're never given enough to care about any of these characters. It's just very like, here's a template for a movie about a bear and a bunch of characters. And you mentioned we didn't mention that the script was written by this guy Jimmy Warden. He apparently came across the idea while scrolling Twitter and just sort of wrote it to
Oh
get
dear.
attention, never thinking it would get made. I think it's pretty
Oh dear.
obvious that he never thought this one would get made, because like there's just sort of nothing in the movie. There's no real jokes, there's no inventive scares there. Elizabeth Banks brings absolutely nothing to it. There's no distinctive style, no memorable locations, no interesting choices with the performances. It's just like a nothing burger of a movie that's completely getting by on its good title and log line. And kind of crazy that that's all you need to make $23 million opening weekend.
You like Megan though.
I like
You think
Megan. I'm
Megan
not
did more
saying
than this?
So like I'm
You
not
didn't feel that
against
one was
the
as empty.
idea of a meme movie, and in fact, like sometimes I think to simplify a premise does open it up in a way that makes it more accessible to people, but like you then have to have something behind it, right? Like you have to
Fair.
have a sense of humor or have like some ideas for scary moments. There's just nothing here. Like what is a choice they made that benefited this movie? Can you name one? Because I can't.
People went crazy when he did the line.
It's in the
You don't like
trailer.
any of these other.
They what
You
they
don't
did
like
is
any
they
of the.
directed a trailer. They directed a
They
trailer,
did.
and then there's 80
It's
more minutes
marketing.
around. Yeah.
100%. You don't like any of the other movies that she's made? You don't think she's ever had it? Did you have any hope going into it?
You know, I like Elizabeth Banks a lot, um, but yeah, I don't think she's suited to this directing thing.
Uh, for me, you mentioned the writer, and I saw the other things that they had done from the babysitter movies. I think this is exactly up those alley. Those I've seen on
Yeah.
streaming. I think Cocaine Bear isn't the worst. It's not great. It isn't the worst. I think if you watch it with a group of people as a rent it, I think it's definitely fun. Because that's how I saw the babysitter movies. If you went out to theaters on the weekend, I think you're past the time to see it in theaters. You needed to have seen
Mhm.
this with a crowd just to get them vibing with you, just to get them going crazy. If you're seeing this in an empty crowd, I might as well have just seen it at home, in my opinion. So my rating for it:
Yeah.
stay
I
at home, wait for it to come out
I went
on
to
streaming and
a
catch
movie
the group.
theater. I went to a movie theater last night. There was me and maybe 10 other people there, and it had 4 walkouts. So I don't know if I've ever
Yikes.
seen that many walkouts with
Eesh.
that few people in attendance.
Well, again, it pitched itself as a movie that you will forget, as a movie
Yeah.
that does not need
And
any more in-depth things. And sure,
and to
that's what they
piggyback
gave
off
you.
of what you were to piggyback off of what you're saying though, I don't think it's like literally the worst thing around. Somebody commented on my letterbox review surprised that I didn't give it a lower score, but it's because like I just feel like there's an absence of good more than I feel like it's actively bad. It's mostly just bland and okay and boring, right?
Yeah, what you're upset about is the fact that this was able to beat out a Marvel movie for one day at the box office because the intrigue for it,
It's a
which, like you said, was nothing, got people to go there. So when are we gonna get? I mean, I even the to talk about another bear. Last week we talked about the Winnie the Pooh one. The Winnie the Pooh one is
yeah.
absolutely nothing. So no one would be mad at you for being upset about that movie creating something out of
Right.
nothing. I guess we like the actors here, and it's so absurd, and they got TikTokers to make stuff that you're right. We are letting it pass. We are letting it pass a
Yeah.
little bit, but Zach hated it. I thought it was okay. Cocaine Bear, watch it at home with some some people, and I think you'll have a decent time.
Yeah.
Operation Fortune is another one that's going to be in theaters. We did have the ability
Yeah.
to watch this at
Ruse the
home,
Guerre.
and I thought I told Zach this was coming out on Netflix in January. He's like, bro, no, it's not. Then he tells me it's coming out in February. I'm like, bro, how is it coming out in February? It's out this Friday. We got to see a little bit early
Yeah.
of it, and it is the new Guy Ritchie movie. What do you think about it?
You know, Guy Ritchie is a filmmaker that I've enjoyed quite a bit in the past, particularly with films like Snatch or Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. I think he's got this real ability to do these kind of sprawling action crime thrillers with interesting
Mm-hmm.
characters and a good sense of humor. I feel like Matthew Vaughn came along and kind of like took his vibe and tried to
Bruh.
turn it into like this big studio product. And like ever since then, Guy Ritchie has also been making what feels like Matthew Vaughn
Aladdin?
movies, even though he's the dude who
Yeah.
kind of was there first. He
Snatched
hasn't
him.
quite hit that old magic. I know a lot of people really like The Man from Uncle. I'm not as big on that one
No.
or Rock and Rolla. I do think that this one has moments where you can feel that old Guy Ritchie kind of patter. Aubrey Plaza particularly is somebody who's really well suited to doing that kind of like wry ironic kind of line delivery opposite Jason
Mm-hmm.
Statham. I think they do have some fun moments. My thing here with Operation Fortune Ruse de Guerre, aside from the title being
Chill.
like incomprehensible mishmash that I can't remember 5 seconds after I read it, is that I don't think he does a very good job of setting this one up. I think for the entire first hour of the movie, I was like, these are some cool scenes. There's some interesting sort of like action. I don't really know who it's servicing, why it's happening. Like there's a whole there's a MacGuffin around the movie that is being stolen and sold off to this big weapons dealer, and they don't even reveal what the MacGuffin is until more than halfway through. Which fine, that's kind of a classic sort of like mystery thing, but if you don't know what everybody's chasing, and you don't know whether or not it's important, and you don't even really know like who everybody is and why they're working together, it's just a little bit hard to get invested. Once you get past that and you kind of are in the mission and kind of part of the team experiencing the banter, I thought it gets to a kind of fun place by the end. I enjoyed a lot of moments, and I think Hugh Grant comes in and gives a really fun performance as this sort of like horny arms dealer, like Austin Powers meets Lord of War or something like that.
He was having fun.
But yeah, but it is kind of like an unfinished movie in some senses. It doesn't really feel
Thank you.
polished. It feels a little first, second drafty, and I it's a shame because I do think they could have elevated this one because there's pieces that work.
You are right. Not only am I going to double up what you said about them not telling you about what the MacGuffin is, Jason Statham will do a fight scene and they won't tell you what the fight scene is till later. Like he's still
Right.
cool. He's a badass. But like he just looks at someone and you cut to the next scene, they're like, what happened? And then they show you there that he punched. And I'm like, why didn't you show it to me when you landed it? And then they still show you part of that fight 15 minutes later. I'm like, what are
Yeah.
why are y'all nest-stalling?
It's
your movie?
unnecessarily choppy.
Why? And then look, my second one would be shout out Aubrey Plaza. There's one scene that I did not understand what was happening. They like cut to her and it's a sex line, and I did not understand the edit, and it's stuck in my brain, so I guess it's effective. I thought it was a mistake. It's so awkward.
feels
it
like it.
cuts to the next scene right after they say it, and I'm just gonna end this by saying I agree with you 100%. I thought they sent us a work in progress. There is something in the movie that is missing. It feels like they forgot the movie magic that you sprinkle over. It feels like they're walking on a set. I swear I can hear the cameraman walking with them down whatever street that they're in. There's something missing in the punches, and it just doesn't feel complete. You are 100% right in that, and I don't know what it is. It's like when you're in college and you turn in your movie, you're like, I forgot something. You drop the black bars.
Yeah.
I don't know what that last piece is, but maybe they finish it by March 3rd. To me, stay at home for this one. Aubrey's cool.
Yeah.
Jason's always cool, but it's a rent it for me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a certain type of person who really vibes with this type of movie, and if you are, then like do it, rent it, maybe go out to the theater and see it. For the rest of us who only tends to check out these kind of films when they're well received or supposed to be pretty good, you can probably wait until this one hits streaming.
Do you see he's doing a lot of Disney? I don't like that. I'm tired of that, dude. He'll make like
Yeah.
Wrath of Man, super crazy after Aladdin, and then he'll make this
He's
one,
just-
whatever it is, and then Hercules.
Yeah, I've never found his style to be well suited for that kind of movie, but
No,
I
get your
guess
money.
we all
They're doing the
grow
Peter
up in
Pan
some
one, too,
way,
with what's
yeah.
his name. So, well, that's 2 stay homes from us so far for Cocaine Bear, for Operation Fortune.
Yeah.
You know, we're leaning rented on them, so it's not the worst stay homes, but we're gonna keep it going because Linoleum's also at home. I think it may be playing in some theaters, but I caught this at South by Southwest last year. I thought it was a very interesting movie. It's been fascinating to see the different takes on the ending now. I pitched it to you as like, hey, I think this is an interesting ending that makes you re-look at the whole movie. Now that it's out on virtual, I think it's worth catching at home. If it's got a decent like $4.99 rental price, sure. If not, hopefully it gets on streaming. I thought it was a really good performance from Jeff Gaffigan, from a little sci-fi that really plays in on the Bill Nye aspect of it, and this guy who's kind of like really in his head wanting to be an astronaut or something bigger, and how that applies to his family. I hope you get to catch it. I think it's really good. I would recommend it at home. And I'm curious to see how people take that ending. On top of that, I said it's South by. We will have our South by list coming up literally in a couple days, if not tomorrow, going through all of the upcoming movies for next year. So you can have a movie like Linoleum or even better ones like Everything Everywhere All at Once already on your radar for it. But this one's out at home after playing last year. I give it the thumbs up on it. I liked the ending. So once you see it, Zach, I'm curious your take on it.
Yeah, for sure.
Moving on to the next one is another one to stay at home. We have a ghost. is out on
Yeah.
Netflix, and it is. You did make me laugh on this one, over. We Have a Ghost is a movie about David Harbour playing a ghost who lives in this house. It's been the thing that like Ghosts on HBO and Ghosts on Paramount. They are all obsessed with this idea. But the scariest part of this movie is not the ghost, Zach. You got to catch this one. Let them know.
It's for
Yikes.
some reason this one's over 2 hours long. It has no
Yikes.
reason to be. Never make your comedy over 2 hours long. Like, come on. Who are you,
Dude.
Ruben Ostlund?
And we got different times on here too. They don't like how many working edits were there? Is it 127? Is it 26? Oh my gosh. Keep going.
I also really thought it was hilarious. The very opening of the movie, you see the outside of this house, and then there's a time lapse, and the house gets completely dilapidated. It's falling apart. It must have been so long for a house to fall apart that way. And then the title comes up, and it says 1 year later. It's like, I don't know how many hurricanes blew through this town, but
Crazy. But
We Have a Ghost, because of that runtime and because the trailer gives you a glimpse of David Harbour in what seems like very cheaply done CGI, where they just kind of turned the opacity down to 50 and left him
something like
there.
that.
I had a feeling that this one wouldn't be good, and when I started watching it, I found myself surprisingly charmed by a lot of it. There's just like a sweetness to it. It kind of feels like, what if E.T. was about a ghost and also a viral sensation? It's like pretty charming in parts, and not necessarily like, you know, I think that it has a tendency to feel like it could be cloying, but I think it feels kind of I don't know, true to the spirit of what it's doing. There's charming performances in it. There's some funny lines. And then I look at the writer director, and it makes a lot more sense, because Christopher Landon is actually pretty good at taking these premises that seem like they shouldn't be that good and making them kind of workable and fun.
Yo, it's Happy Death Day, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, he needs to be working on 3, not having a ghost in a house, bro. What? Oh, okay, yeah, he's decent. He's decent. I like him.
Exactly.
Okay.
And
All
like,
right.
look, this isn't the best movie. There's definitely like only 90 minutes of material in this 2 hour plus movie, but I didn't hate it. I didn't hate my time with it.
Fair. Look, I look at Anthony Mackie as I've seen him, how he got the Falcon role. I'm looking at this. Looks like my man's just securing the family bag so that he can secure the family role, dude.
Yeah.
I wish him the best, man. Poor guy. He's worse than me with the South by list, working on South by list. He's working for Marvel and he's working for Captain America 4. He doesn't even know if he's Captain America. So we'll see how it ends up for him. He has a ghost. Hopefully he gets the Marvel check, but good for him. Streaming over on Netflix. That director needs to work on Happy Death Day 4, because that's his bread and butter right now, in my opinion. But our final one for the week, if you don't care for the Netflix family drama, maybe you care for the Hulu family drama that takes it up
Yeah.
to another level. Zach caught this one at TIFF and said, "Yo, you have to catch this movie. It's really good." We tried reaching out for it because at Sundance a year prior, it was one of our favorite shorts. And the short, which is out online, I will try to link it, is still one
You
of
can
the
watch
best
it right
shorts
now.
and is fantastic. Pause this video, go catch it. Then go watch Bruiser.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like it more than the short, which really speaks a lot to the short, Zach. I think the short,
Hmm.
it changes it in order to make it a fefeature. Obviously, it has to
Yeah.
elongate it. There's a lot of patient shots in the movie, beautiful shots. Don't get me wrong. But there's something about the short, especially in those encounters of violence that are so visceral. I prefer it a little bit more to the movie, but
Yeah.
the what he's
I
able to do with
think
the movie and extending it, I think was still very interesting.
Yeah, I think the short's very good in a way because there's so much implied by it, right? Like, because you don't have as much runway to tell what your story is about specifically, it speaks more to like a generation of people and an idea, and it's an idea that I don't feel like we've seen articulated as much. When you expand upon that idea, it starts to feel a little bit more like something that's maybe familiar. And granted, I don't think that makes the movie uninteresting, particularly because there are really fantastic performances in this one. I
All
wanted to
around.
shout out our boy what is it, Jalen Webb, is it,
Yeah, dude,
who
just
was
starting off
previously in
recent.
He was previously in Armageddon Time. I told you he had a Jalen Hall. That is, I told you he had another one around the corner. He's very, very good in this one. But the real star of the show
Till
is
too, dude.
Trevante Rhodes, who I think Trevante hasn't been better, or hasn't been this good at least since Moonlight. Just a really fantastic, beautiful, textured performance of a man who's carrying the weight of his past on his shoulders, trying to both be better than he was, but also not immune to the things that triggered him before. I think it's a really interesting look at, you know, the ways in which men can often feel trapped by their masculinity, and basically the consequences on that, generationally speaking, right? Not to mention, as you pointed out, it is a beautiful looking film. Miles Warren, I thought the short looked gorgeous as well, but he really gets more to work with here. I think the color scheme is so beautiful and like so textured, and there's just a few shots that still resonate with me. I still think about them.
Yep. I mean, I thought about what he did with the short is crazy. Like you give him more praise in that one because you wonder like, yo, how did you put the short together? I thought he adapted the feature very well, and I agree with you. Looking back at Trevante, he needs good scripts, dude, because it's not like he doesn't put the effort in. I watched the one he did for Hulu for Tyson, right? Um, the writing just wasn't there. And
Right.
if you're able to give him something that takes the time, like you said with Moonlight, a script that's patient, this is a very patient script. You allow him to develop it as a character, and I agree 100% with what you said. The dichotomy between him and the father, and those moments of violence, and what you're observing, what you're leaving behind. Bruiser's really good. I like both of them. I
Yeah.
think you get different aspects from both the short and the feature, and I would highly recommend them. Bruiser would
Did
definitely
you
be
like
for a show called Must Watch. That is our one must watch for the week.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's the must watch for sure. Did you like the way in which the feature used elements from the short, but kind of like it didn't make them, it didn't make the end the same as the end. I thought it was able to sort of like recontextualize moments from the short really
Yeah.
interestingly.
Or take
Yeah.
them in a different way because there is several
Yes.
scenes that they share, like the weight training scene. You know, I'll just leave it at that.
Yes.
In the short, ends completely different than in the
Completely
movie.
differently.
But it's like a Schrodinger's thing where it's like, nah, but that was completely a viable option for it to have also gone that way. And that's why I'm saying there's almost like a really beautiful story happening and watching alternatives of what could have
Yeah.
happened in the story. I like it. I like it. Miles, you are on the radar for the Intercut podcast. And for this week,
Absolutely.
you are the only one I give the leaving the theater for because my TV, you know, I love my TV, but damn, Hulu kept glitching on me sometimes, and I needed to see every crystal clear version of this movie. And if I was watching it in the theater, I would have gotten that. I think he shot it on film, if I'm not mistaken. If he didn't,
Looks like it.
yo, I
Yeah.
100% would have recommended this at bare minimum as a matinee at a music box at an IFC center to really get how well he shot this story. Bruiser, the one that I say leave your house for this week.
Yeah, so shout out to the cinematographer as well, Justin Derry, since we're shouting out so much of that look of the film. And one more shout
They
out to
did
the
the short?
cast. I thought Shamir, he did the short as well. And then one more shout out to the cast. I thought Shamir Anderson, who played the father in the film, had a lot of scenes opposite Trevante as well.
No,
Excellent,
no,
excellent
we were actually
actor. You know,
disrespectful not mentioning him earlier. He almost
yeah,
sometimes overdid Trevante. We just know
yeah.
Trevante like that, but he had this rage behind those glasses. His glasses were beautiful, those
Oof.
gold frames, but there was some looks he was given behind those frames, and because it's a boxed in ratio, you getting close on his face. Thank you for mentioning that. And let me pull up the cinematographer right here. Yo, okay. Minor Premise was another beautifully shot one as well.
Okay.
Gotcha.
I remember you shouting that one out.
Okay. Yeah. Kind of
So yeah,
crazy story,
Bruiser,
but I
definitely
mean,
the
beautiful one.
the best movie I've seen in the past week or so.
Pick for the week. So big shout
Yep.
out to the movies of this week, specifically Bruiser, but a big shout out to all of the Inner Cutie patrons.
Yes. Those patrons who are hopefully going to join us soon. But let's shout them out. The Inner Cutie Plus level are Ewan, Ronette, Julieta, Tim, Elizabeth, Josh, Ashley, Brady, Sean, Marion, Michael, Mr. Kobayashi, Nick the Monty, LaShawn, Devesh, Nick, and Diana. Our Academy level members are Tushar, Cademan, Connor, Pete, Ricky, May, Joe, Tone, and Janicia. And of course, a big thanks to the producer level patrons. They are Awkward, Uden Veer, and Sam. Thanks again for all of the support, and a reminder that you too can become a member at patreon.com/intercutpod for as little as $1 a month. You can sign up for patron benefits like early access to Intercut episode outlines, early access to some Intercut episodes, access to private channels on the Intercut Discord where you can chat with us throughout the week, and an invitation to our monthly patron Google meetings. The next one we're doing right after this stream right here. So head over to patreon.com, hit us up for $1 a month, and you could chat with us about what you've seen, what you're liking, what you think is going to win Best Picture at the Oscars, what you're excited to see out of South by Southwest, any of that stuff. Hit us up, and yeah, we'll talk to some of y'all patrons in just a little bit.
Sounds good. I'm gonna be on the way to Creed, so I just want to hear everyone's boxing opinions. I have a specific one between Cinderella Man and one of the Rocky movies to see what's. We need to do a boxing one. Now that I think about it, we need to do a boxing.
Ooh, a boxing bracket.
Like I thought of a Rocky one, and it ended up being 9, and I was like, I don't know if it's 9, and I'm not even gonna include Rocky 5, but a boxing bracket, bringing in a bunch of the different ones would be kind of dope. Getting back to it though, speaking of boxing, Zach. Time for the picks of the week. I already know.
Let's
the first
do
one.
it. Yeah, I mean Creed 3, right? You're gonna go see it tonight. I'm gonna go see it tonight. I picked up the Creed poster at the AMC last night.
Hey, what's up? Hey. Oh no, wrong one.
So I'll have that one hanging up in the background.
Damn.
Yeah, look at that. It's nice looking, right?
I dig that. Ant-Man one.
Michael. Yeah, a little bit better than the Quantumanium one we got.
Ew! Throw it away.
But yeah, man, I mean, Michael B. Jordan directing this one. Always fascinating to see the actor step into the role, particularly when you have the history of the Rocky franchise being something that was directed by Stallone. Like, there's some legacy there to it being directed by the actor. So I know I'm hyped for it. I think this is one of the movies coming out this year you're most hyped for.
I'm disgustedly excited for this movie, bro. You watching it on IMAX? You watching it in Dolby?
I think I got the Dolby tonight.
All right, cool. I'm gonna be watching them both. That's when I knew I was excited, when I was just like, I can catch the Dolby here, the IMAX here. I don't know if I want to get beat up in 40X, but there is an option there. That's when I knew. I was like, all right, you're already prepping to see it multiple times. I'm excited as can be. The Creed movies, the Rocky movies, we were checking for what's going to be, we were prepping our list for everything coming out in March, and they're going to be on Prime, they're going to be on HBO, so plenty to catch up on, and I love, this is a franchise I love rewatching. I know people do that for like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. I have no problem just knocking these out every single time a new one comes out. So yeah, Creed 3 is also at the top of my list. Shoot, bro, I'm gonna recommend Creed 1 as well, because I love Creed 1 for this week. And then if he's gonna put Creed 3, just the fact that he's going to develop as a director and saying he's bringing all those anime influences, I'm excited. What's next, Zach?
Man, we need Ryan Coogler back. Kevin Feige has to stop holding him hostage.
He's producing a lot, but I feel you.
I want to see him direct.
Yeah, I want to see him direct some other stuff. Yeah.
All right, I got some other picks.
What's up?
I'll throw another quick shout out to Operation Fortune, Ruse de Guerre. Look, it's Guy Ritchie,
like the name, bro.
It's not. it grows on me the more I say it out loud. To be honest, Ruse de Guerre. It's probably my favorite Guy Ritchie movie in at least 5 years. I don't know if that says much at all, but yeah. I mean, what's the man done, really? Aladdin? Are we comparing it to Aladdin?
To me, it's a Guy Ritchie movie that came out in the last 5 years, but I want to call it his best. Yeah, you're right, dude. I guess. You know what?
Yeah.
Rock and Roller comes out on Prime this weekend. Again, going through my list, I like Rock and Roller, so I'll shout out that one instead. All right. What'd you call it? Operation Fortune, yes.
Ruse de Guerre. Yeah.
I agree with you on the next one instead.
Yeah, I'll throw out another recommendation for Bruiser, our only must-watch of the week. Just a really searing drama, well told, well shot, well acted. Watch it on Hulu.
And if you don't have Hulu, watch the short because it hits just as hard, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Then I'll do a quick shout out to Poker Face because tomorrow is the ninth episode of the show, the one that features both Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Stephanie Shu, couple faces that I know people like. I think
Good.
it's one of the best episodes of Poker Face this season.
Interesting.
Just a really exciting, dramatic, tense episode. Like certainly deserving of that kind of like penultimate episode of the season tag that tends to mean it's like the most dramatic thing that we're going to experience all
Yeah.
season. So yeah,
Mine's
if you
still.
have been behind, just a reminder that episode 9 is out tomorrow, and it's a really good one of Poker Face. Art, you're still enjoying Poker Face, right? I mean, you worked your way
Oh,
through the
I
whole show.
wrapped it, bro. Yeah, I
Yeah,
loved it. I'm curious to see what they're gonna do with season two. Curious to see how people take the
maybe we got
finale.
to
I was
do it
looking through
after
the
credits
episodes.
next week.
We're gonna have to. Time of the Money, of the Monkey. Sorry, is I think still my favorite. The one at the retirement home. I think that one's just. I think her performance in this. I think the supporting actors. I think the way it ends up actually even playing out throughout the season is probably one of the standouts in my opinion. But this next one,
I still
you
love
got a
Exit Stage
very
Death.
nice bottle episode. Which one?
Exit Stage Death, the one with Ellen Barkin and Tim Meadows at the
Okay, I
theater,
think that may
community
be
theater.
one of Alina's top ones. Yeah.
It's so good.
All right. Sounds good. Either
All
way,
right, and my
Poker Face. I was gonna add it next week, but I'm glad you put it in here because just in case no one's seen it, they have to.
totally. And then just a last pick of the week, since it is such a light week in films. I don't know if you've seen the Embiggen YouTube channel or Instagram, but he makes these like they're like Rube Goldberg machines that play music. I think he does this entirely through CGI before you freak out.
It
But it's
has to be.
so beautiful. And I just
I
like
saw
find
this.
myself watching them on loop.
I saw this because you put it on last night, and I
Yeah.
opened it, but you had misspelled Embiggen, so it was Embeggen, and
Yeah.
it was like these motivational quotes, and I was like, damn, I guess the trip didn't go that well. But then I saw Nbeggen. We stayed there on the Instagram, watching about like 5 scrolls worth. It has to be
Yeah.
CGI. I refuse to believe it's anything other.
It's too precise. It's too well done. Yeah, I think he is a CGI artist, but like it's convincing too, right?
It's
And
good and
just
it's
the way that
entertaining.
yeah, it's so good. The using the music from the movies and all these like props that are reminiscent of them. Just if you're a movie fan, this is awesome. This is just
Yeah.
like you said, you could just spend lots of time scrolling through his page.
Well,
So yeah,
yesterday,
in Biggin.
Alina was playing them, and I had to guess what they were. So that's also a really fun game to play. So
Yeah,
I'd recommend that one.
so maybe try that
Good
one out.
picks. Sounds great. My three right here would be on Hulu. Triangle of Sadness is coming out. So you have a huge Oscar contender that you will be able to watch from the comfort of your own home. And I'm looking to rewatch it as well because I have some other theories and just the way that it plays out and what he's saying. And it wasn't
Yeah.
my favorite Ruben Ostlund, but definitely liked it better than The Square. It's just never going to be up there with Force Majeure in my opinion. But hey, I'm rooting for some of the performances in there. We'll see how well it does. And the man got a directing nom. Shout out to him. The Year in Between is another one that played at Chicago. It played at Tribeca.
Yeah.
I don't
I
think you've had
remember
the
you
chance to
recommending
catch
it.
this yet. Hell yeah,
Not yet.
dude. This comes from Alex Heller, who we've loved her shorts. Her shorts have been really good. Alina's always scoped them out. Now she's made a full feature, and it's a little bit about her life and how she kind of took a year in between college because she gets diagnosed with, if I'm not mistaken, depression or bipolar. And because of
Mm.
that, she's got to go through therapy. She's got to go through medications, but the humor is insane because she just doesn't care, and it's her humor. It's how she coped. And you got a cast of Steve Buscemi, J. Smith Cameron, who many may know from Succession. Even her siblings are hilarious in the movie. I liked the style that it was going for, the tone. I would recommend it. It's uncomfortable in all the best ways. The Year in Between. And then, like Zach said, my pick for the week to get out of the house is Creed. Creed, Creed, Creed,
Yeah.
Creed, Creed. Watch it in 40x, watch it in IMAX, watch it in
Dun,
Dolby.
dun,
Watch it
dun,
with me
dun,
right now as
dun,
we
dun,
head
dun.
on over on the Patreon
Yeah.
stream as I go over to watch my screening for it. But some really good movies for the week, even though we had a slow one here. Like we said, we have our South by list that's about to come out. We have our Sundance list where those movies are trickling down as they come out throughout March, as we have some other movies from South by that come out as South by begins. So a slow week for this one, but we still have so many other stuff in store. But that's it for this week, Zach. Where can they find more from you?
You can catch more from me at my Twitter, at my Instagram, at my Letterboxd. All those are at Zshevich. That's Shevich. And then check out my YouTube or TikTok channels at Multiplex Show, where I just posted about the Tar ghosts. So if you haven't seen the
Bro,
ghosts from Tar yet,
there's
check them out.
before and there's after you realize the ghost from Tar. Good video. A reminder, you can listen to every episode of the Intercut podcast on iTunes, Anchor, Spotify, or your favorite podcatcher. You can catch the live video on here, youtube.com. Every week we're covering the weekend must-watch, as well as previews, after credits, and some brackets we have in the works. Big shout out to all the Intercuties who listen live on that live stream. We see you. Shout out to all the patrons who are going to join right now, and all the iTunes listeners leaving us a 5-star review. We got like 20 something movies hopefully lined up because of the Intercutie listeners over on Apple Podcasts. So a big shout out to everyone who leaves a like and a follow over there. Don't forget to leave us a comment, drop a like, follow the socials for Intercut Pod, which are all linked down below. And until next time, keep watching movies. We're going to send you a bear.
Rawr.